This morning, we're going to talk about a study that's entitled My True Strength. My True Strength. We all need it. We all need strength. Many times in our life, we find that we have strength, and that strength leads us to a certain point. But what happens when we run out of strength? When we've gone as far as we think we can go, when we think that there is no further that we can go, we must understand that our true strength is not from within. It doesn't come from us. Our true strength as lovers of God comes from the Lord. The Lord is our strength. But what does that mean? What does that look like in your everyday life, that the Lord is your strength? They're nice words, but what does it really mean? How can it help? When can I see God's strength in my life? Has He really been helping me? Has God's strength been exhibited in my life? Those are some of the questions that prayerfully will be answered as we go through the study today. Our true strength comes from the Lord. But our true strength comes from the Lord only when we choose to acknowledge Him. Many times when we don't choose to acknowledge God, we're operating on our own strength. But in order to be effective and successful in this life, it requires the strength of many. In order for you and I, and for anyone to be successful in this life, it requires the strength of many, not just your own. And short of having an army of people following you around every day, where does that strength come from? This strength is seen at times and has been displayed at times in your life that you might not have connected it. You might not have looked at it as strength. But I'm reminded when I would fall down and I skipped my leg when I was little, or I may have got an injury that caused me to have to get stitches. As a child, my strength was gone. I remember one time I got a heat rash. Running around playing outside, I got a heat rash. And if you've ever gotten a heat rash, it doesn't feel real good when you've gotten a heat rash. It doesn't feel real good. And you're looking for some comfort immediately. But it feels even worse when you feel even more worse because you don't know what to do to fix it. That's when you've run out. You can no longer stand against what's happening to you. You don't know what to do. Then you rely on someone else's strength. You rely on someone else's ability. And for me, I relied on my mom because I felt that she would know what to do. She had proven over and over that she did. Even if she didn't know, she felt she didn't know. I never knew that she didn't. But what she was additional strength for me. She was an extension of me. Allowed me to be able to resist or to address those things that were working against me. The heat rash was working against me. The injuries that I got worked against me. I'd be outside playing. I had a gash on my shin bone from I hit one of these balls on the back of you see these little metal balls that are on the back of vehicles for towing. I was outside playing and running, and I didn't see it, and my shin bone hit one of those metal balls. And of course, That was my shin bone. It wasn't just my skin. It was the bone right underneath the shin that hit it. And what you can see was like white meat. I didn't know what to do. I immediately tried to put some sand on it just to try to cool it down because it was paining. I didn't know what to do. And that worked only for a couple of seconds. But after then, I still didn't know what to do. This thing that came into my life was coming against me, and I didn't know what to do. I'd run out of strength. I'd been broken, and I'd run out of strength. So I turned to my mom. She knew what to do, and she took steps to do it. So I'm here today largely because of her strength. So what then is strength? Strength, according to Webster, is defined as the ability to resist being moved. The ability to resist being moved or broken by a force. The ability to resist being moved or broken by a force. The ability to resist being moved or broken by a force. You often think of strength, or you see pictures of strength where you see two people who are arm wrestling. And the person who normally wins the arm wrestling is considered, for the moment, what? By the people who are observing. Whenever you see two people arm wrestling, and whoever wins in that moment, that person, for the moment, is considered to be the person who is what?
The strongest.
Who is the strongest at that moment. They demonstrated the ability to resist being moved or broken by the force of the other person. That example is critical to understanding this notion of strength. Because when you look at what you are striving toward each day of your life, what are you using to strive toward your goals and your objectives? What are you using?
Your strength.
Your strength. Your ability. You're using your ability. And your ability, your gifts and your talents in action is your strength. But when you are trying to work toward your goal and objective, let's say you are participating in a football game, or you are in a competition, or you are at a track meet, or you're at a basketball game, and let's say you are playing against somebody else and someone else is trying to stop you. Someone else is trying to win ahead of you. The person who wins that competition is the person who exhibits the most strength toward achieving the goal. And what we must understand, the ability to resist being moved is what strength is about. Each and every day, when you go through your day, you have to use whatever strength you have, muster up whatever strength you have to push yourself through some situations in your day that may be more challenging than others. When you go to PE, for example, you go to physical education, you go to your recreation period, it's easier for you to push your way, use your ability to get through that than it may be to get through some subjects that the teacher might talk about in the classroom, or to get through some situations at work. That it's easier to get through some situations in the community than it is to get through some situations at work. The key is that you have to use your strength in order to do it. Sometimes it may be talking with people, maybe talking with customers. You use your ability. And sometimes when you're talking with some customers, they might exceed your strength. Sometimes you might run into some people during the course of your day that might exceed your strength. Well, how do you know, Pastor, that someone is exceeding your strength? If you feel that you don't know what to do, you run out of things to do. You don't know which way to turn. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. You're not sure how to go forward from that moment. When you begin to feel that way, think that way, you are reaching the edges of your strength in that area of your life. And this happens many times when you reach the end of your knowledge about a subject. This happens when you reach the very end of your ability to do something. What you must recognize is strength is the ability to resist being moved or broken. And at that moment, when you've reached your end, you got to recognize there's a force coming against you. There's a force coming against you to get in your way. Well, why do you say get in your way? If you have not achieved the goal, then there is a force between you and the goal. And if you never deal with the force, if you never learn how to deal with the force that's between you and the goal, then you can never achieve the goal. I'm going to say it again. If you don't learn how to deal with what stands between you and the goal, then you can never achieve the goal. What it means, you've reached the end of your ability and you are now being broken. You are now losing ground. You've now lost the ability to resist the force that's coming against you, that's standing in your way. Many people talk about the goals that they have, things that they had, that they wanted to do when they were young. They often have lofty goals of wanting to be this, that, or the other. But what stands in the way of achievement is their ability to resist the forces that will come against you. The ability to be able to resist the things that will stand in your way to prevent you from succeeding. So it's times like these, we have to know where our true strength lies. When we reach our wits' end, when we don't know what to do. Many times adults, they end up becoming born again because they reach their wits' end and they don't know what to do. They've reached the end of their strength and they've tried to turn to man and man's options and solutions, and man's options and solutions have failed them. Man's options and solution has posed as being a point of strength for them, something to look beyond themselves, someone else to look to that can help them get closer to their objective, whether it's an improvement in health or whether it's an improvement in career opportunities, or whether it's improvement in pay, in their salaries, or whether it's an improvement in achievement of their educational goals. The key is that there's something standing in the way that prevents you from being from where you are to where you're going. And that thing, as long as it's there, that force is there, it will push you backwards before it pushes you toward your goal, which means that you lack strength in that area. You lack the ability to move forward. So strength, as Webster defines it, is the ability to resist being moved or broken by a force. To resist being moved. In other words, there will be a force there. There will be obstacles that you have to contend with. But what we exhibit strength when we resist being moved, just like those two people arm wrestling. The person that wins is the person that resists being moved in the opposite direction. A person who has goals and aspirations to be things, you got to recognize there's always forces, there are more forces to resist pushing you backwards than to push you what? Forward. They talk about many of the challenges that kids face in high school and middle school and elementary school today. The challenges are really distractions, but these distractions are really forces that are resisting, that are intended to distract them or to resist the notion of them achieving success as educational success in the classroom. A second definition that I'm going to point out for strength is power to resist force. Power to resist force is the second definition. But in both definitions gives rise to the fact that there is something that we have to push against. There's something that we have that's not allowing us, just openly allowing us to move forward. And that's this notion of force. That's why the Bible speaks about the idea of achievement in our life, the idea of living life. It speaks about it as a race. When we times in our life where we really need strength, we need strength beyond our own. When we feel that we may start going backwards, is in time where people ridicule you. In times of ridicule, we'll get into this in our study. In times of persecution, these are times where we need strength. Until we develop our own, we need strength that may be beyond our own abilities. And I'm here today to let you know that as children of God, as lovers of God, the Lord has provided us with the path forward. Go over with me to Psalms 27. Psalms 27. Our Bible memory verse comes out of the first verse, and it reads, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. In whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Here the psalmist asks a question in our Bible memory verse here in Psalms 27 verse 1. He said that the Lord is my light and my salvation. But where is the Lord our light and our salvation? The psalmist is speaking about his interactions in the community. He's speaking about his interactions socially. That because he loves the Lord is there to help him be effective in his interactions with people in the community. He also speaks about the Lord being the strength of his life. Why? When people ridicule you, when people persecute you, and you don't know what to do or how to deal with it, you need something beyond yourself to help you. See, we live in a world where people don't treat everybody the way that they want to be treated. Although the Bible asks us to do that, to love thy neighbor as thyself. But what the psalmist is giving visibility to the fact that the community is not a fair place. And that everybody that you meet in the community may not be interested in what you're interested in. And neither will they encourage you to pursue what you're interested in. So that being the case, what you will encounter in the community will be forces that will operate against you achieving that what you want to achieve, simply because they don't care as much about what you believe in as you do. So anything that will be conjured up or suggested will be for you to not necessarily achieve your goals. It will be for you, be a force to stand in the way of you achieving your goals. But our strength is our ability to resist those things. Time management. Time management. What is time management about? Time management is about you managing your time in a way that you are able to effectively achieve the things you want to achieve in your life, in your day. And if you don't effectively manage your time and you don't achieve the things that you desire to achieve, do you think you've been moved back or forward toward your goals? You've been moved back, which means that you didn't have the ability to resist being moved back on that day. That whatever the forces were that you came up against in community that day moved you back force you not to achieve. You were broken by the forces that were around you, the powers that were around you. And this is what often happens to people. This is why unfortunately, many people you hear a lot about many people who have failed to achieve. They speak earnestly about the things that stood in their way, the decisions that they made, those decisions costing them. See, our ability to resist a move against things in the community that don't encourage you is a sign of our strength. Our ability to manage time is basically a sign of our ability to deal with the forces that we deal with in our community and still accomplish what we want to accomplish. Effectively managing time. If you think about time management, why do you have to manage your time? Anybody? Why do you have to manage your time? Why is it necessary?
In order for you to accomplish your goals for that day.
In order for you to accomplish your goals for that day, you must manage your time, right?
Also, time is not going to stop for nobody.
Time doesn't stop for anybody, does it?
We have to conform to time versus time conforming to us, our schedule.
Exactly. It doesn't stop for anybody. So if we don't manage our time, and all we're doing when we say manage our time, what we're doing is thinking about the things that we want to accomplish on that day. Time keeps marching. Whether we prepare ourselves appropriately is up to us. This is that notion of arm wrestling. When we are trying to manage our time, and if we don't manage our time, what we'll find is that we'll begin to go backwards against the things that we were trying to accomplish. When we have things that we didn't do, things that we didn't complete, things that we weren't successful in, what we have to recognize is that we are moving backwards. The force of all of the things that got in your way that day, that prevented you from achieving that day, that force is moving you backwards. It's like arm wrestling. You're only moving forward when you're managing your time effectively. It's like somebody who is winning an arm wrestling match. Think about your day as arm wrestling. And all of the things that get in your path to prevent you from achieving what you plan to achieve that day as being things that are moving your arm backwards, causing you to do what? Lose. So we have to recognize that in order that we might consistently achieve excellence, we have to do like the psalmist did. Recognize that the Lord is truly our strength. The Lord is truly our strength because the Lord helps us to remain focused on the right things so that we are not moved backwards. It doesn't feel good when you plan to do certain things during the course of the day and you don't get most of the things you had planned done. It doesn't feel good. Which means that whatever you encountered that day, you didn't have the strength or the ability to accomplish what you needed to because of the forces that were coming against you on that day. What it says is that our strength was not enough for us to accomplish what we needed because time, as the sister just said, waits for no man. And it applies to all of us. See, strength is our power that we have to resist the things that keep us from managing our time well, accomplishing what we set out to accomplish, dealing with distractions that get in the way.
Oh, praise be to God, from whom all blessings flow. It is our prayer at Clay Family Ministries that your life has been increased with the increase of God through this study. We appreciate and are thankful for your fellowship during this life skills study segment.